Hey guys, I'm Ed Hitchcock. I'm your host and I'm the owner of Tailored Tackle, and we're going to teach you guys how to catch rainbow trout through the ice. We're here in beautiful Canyon Ferry, Montana, fishing for big rainbow trout. I'm here with an outfitter and a good friend of mine, Aaron Wirt, and he's going to show us how to get things done out here.
Yeah, we're out here on Canyon Ferry on the south end, just south of Silos, in about 8-9 feet of water, and hopefully we get a few big rainbows that are lurking around in here.
Yeah, we're gonna fish along this flat, and we're gonna walk you through the baits that we're using, the lures that we're using, the techniques, the tactics, everything. So we're gonna go real into depth on this one and get you guys set up for success when you go try to target rainbow trout through the ice.
Careful of the edge of the ice.
I know.
I'll jump in there if you want me to grab them.
Yeah, I might need you. I want you to help me out landing them. If you can. Darting way out of the way.
Usually not small. Whew. Don't be afraid to stick it in the water to keep away from the ice.
Nice. Beautiful. Oh, my goodness. Oh, what a beautiful fish.
There you go.
Oh, that's fantastic. Look at that fish, guys. How about that? What a fight. We got nervous there. We're in 8 feet of water and he's circling around the hole. I'm trying not to reel in too hard. My drag's a little frozen up because it's freezing out here. Man, I'm so glad we got this fish in.
Nice job.
That's awesome.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Heck yeah, welcome to Montana.
All right, guys, let's talk about what we're rigging up here in terms of bait. We're gonna do the two-pole approach. You guys are gonna see this a lot. It's a constant theme throughout ice fishing. It works for a bunch of different species, but it's really important for trout. So we've got the jigging setup over here where I'm gonna be jigging active lures. And then we've got the dead stick over here. There's gonna be some modifications to this from the typical dead stick for, you know, these trout. And so with the jigging setup, we want to do louder lures in the silver colors. When you're fishing these mountaintop reservoirs, they're typically going to have really clear water, and hopefully you're not going to have a lot of snow cover. In that case, the sun's going to shine through, and so silver does a really good job of reflecting that light and pulling fish in. So we're going to be focusing on 2 of our lures in the kit. That's going to be the rattle and crank right here, which is a nice bright silver, and then the curved spoon right here that flutters on down, and it's really bright. And so with these active jigging sticks, we're gonna get maybe 10 to 20% of our actual fish that day from the jigging sticks. They're really serving a greater purpose by bringing trout in. These trout are gonna be all over the place. They're cruising through the water like sharks, and they're not schooling up and they're not sticking around. So when they're swimming by 10, 15 feet away, we've got to pull them in. And so that greater purpose is going to serve the dead sticks very well. We are going to be placing these things, you know, down in the water column, and they're going to be sitting there right next to our active jigging sticks, and they are going to be offering kind of a platter to the trout. We've got a classic diamond jig that's paired with a bunch of Eurolarva. We like to use red Eurolarva. The trout really like that big bright red, and it's gonna be pulling them in. It works a little bit better than waxies a lot of the times. And then something that's a little bit more unique to this body of water, Aaron recommended that he's been catching trout, big trout, on black marabou jigs. So something that we don't offer in the kit, but we always want to work in what's working in that specific body of water. We're going to cover 80% of what you need in there, but every once in a while you're going to get to places like this and something's really hot and it's a particular color, it's a particular lure, and we highly encourage you guys to use those. So we're going to be working these things every once in a while, maybe jigging it here and there to just keep checking, but these are going to just stay right dead, right in the middle of the water column. Now, you're probably familiar with these rod racks, and these are really important here because we need to be able to hold the rod in a way in which we can mount these rattlers on top and see them too. Because it's one thing to hear them, but when you got multiple rattlers going and you can't see them, you don't know which one you're pulling up. So we clip that right onto the end here. You can do that on top, you can do it on the bottom, you can even bring it kind of over here. I like to bring it over a little bit closer, right by the guide right there, so it doesn't get in the way and I can unclip it quickly when we get a fish. Now, once we get these things set up, we're gonna walk over some of the techniques that we're actually using from a jigging sense, and then where we're putting these things in the water and how the fish are reacting to them. So the most common place to target trout when you're ice fishing are long, expansive flats that are going to be ranging between 5 to 15 feet. And when you're on these flats, the trout are cruising at various depths within that water column, but they're not going to be on the bottom. They feed upwards, but they're usually hanging somewhere, 2 feet or higher from there. And so what you want to do when you're jigging in these locations is you want to be covering a lot of the water column and pulling them in. And typically you're going to be on the shallower end. So we're at about 8 feet right here. And you can pretty much cover the majority of the water column 2 feet and up with some big swoops. And we're going to be setting these dead sticks with the ringers on them. We're going to be setting them at about halfway up the water column, even higher, sometimes a foot or two off the bottom just to test it out, but they're typically going to be halfway up or higher. And you're going to see that we've got a bunch of them out here. This is the reason for the bells. I like the bells next to you in case you're not looking and you're focusing on your flasher, but out here we got to hear them, and we got a bunch of them. We can have up to 6 bulls here on Canyon Ferry, and so we're going to utilize that to show you guys some big trout. We are going to be catching and releasing all of them, but you're going to be hearing and ringing bells over here, and we are going to be running after them, and that's where you're going to get the majority of your fish when you are targeting trout through the ice, is going to be on those dead sticks. Now, most anglers that are going to be fishing hard water for trout are not going to be able to do all 6. That's totally okay. You're going to do just fine jigging on one end and dead sticking on the other, calling them in with a couple different tactics. So we're working this bottom up. I'm fishing the spoon, and Aaron is fishing the rattling crankbait. I want to show you guys a visual of the location that we're fishing and how we chose it. So these big blocks here, these are the flats that we're targeting, and we're doing anything between 8 to 15 feet. And you can see them pretty clearly on the map there. Big blocks of similar depth, right, and likely similar transitions on the bottom. And we are going to position ourselves along these flats and take advantage of any sort of extra structural feature that happens to come across. So we've got that bend up here in that creek mouth, so that's where we ended up choosing. This is a little zoomed up version of it, but we want to be focusing on those fatter areas within the bend, and we also want to position ourselves to take advantage of the creek channel as well. So you're going to see that, like these little marks here, this is where we're kind of setting up our dead sticks and where we're jigging around. And these little tiny transitions in depth, they can make a difference. We caught most of our fish here in this 8-foot bend of a flat. And so it's good to just position yourself across a little bit. While it's all gonna be kind of the same general flat, these little transitions do make a big impact. So focus on spreading out a little bit, covering your flat and taking advantage of any sort of structural feature that happens to run into it as well.
You know, the biggest challenge about getting these trout, and especially these bigger trout, towards that last mile. The last mile is the hardest part. You know, right when you get them up to the hole, they're gonna peel out, and they're gonna peel out left, and they're gonna peel out right. And when that happens, they're not going down. They're going straight across. And that happens right when you get them up to the hole. So you gotta be really careful, because you're gonna lose most of your fish because the line is gonna get cut at the bottom of the hole. It's not gonna happen because, you know, the line snapped on them, unless you're, you know, using a little too light of a test. We got 6-pound mono out here and a couple 6-pound braided ones. We haven't had a problem at all in terms of test. We haven't lost anything that way, but we have lost them because they've peeled off, and, you know, the chafing on the bottom of the hole just brings that line to brittle and it just snaps. Now, how you avoid that, which is something that I'm improving on, I messed it up a couple times, but Aaron's a pro at, is getting your rod down into the water when you have that fish peeling out, so that when your pole bends with them peeling, you're not scraping against the bottom of the hole with your line. And it's gonna help out a lot. Now, don't keep reeling when it's down there. This is just to give you that cushion to not lose the fish. Right there.
Like that. Oh, bigger. Oh yeah, that's a big fish. Turn him. Good job. Come on, Mama. Nice. Almost. I just can't turn them. Oh my God. It wouldn't be any fun if they just gave up. Almost.
That was a fight.
I can't believe we didn't lose that fish.
Oh my goodness. You know, because we got the drag set up right. We've got everything tied on great. We got 6-pound tests. We shouldn't lose them, but when they're running that hard close to the hole, you just chop the line up on the bottom of it. So we're trying to dip that rod tip down about, you know, a half a foot right below the hole, so when it peels out, you know, we can still work with it and not rub that line up against the bottom of the hole. But to get them through, it's almost impossible to not risk it a couple times. So
Right, but that's what makes it full of fun too, is that they cheat that squirrely.
yeah. Anyways, I don't want this fish to frost over, but
Yeah,
how beautiful is that, guys?
good one. Good wild rainbow. Whew. All right,
Let's get her back.
I don't know if you want to see that. Do that. We'll do.
You know, it's always so surprising to me that trout fishing through the ice is so simple. And you know, while it changes a bit here and there, it's really the same thing all over. It's a dead stick with some sort of bait attached to it and an active jigging stick with a spoon or a lure. And that's it, right?
That's about it. You don't have to be intimidated by this.
And Aaron, what kind of jigging methods typically work on Canyon Ferry?
All sorts of jigging methods. I mean, I've pounded the bottom, trying to stir up some stand. You know, big, rapid strokes on it. But, you know, when you see a fish come in, I would try to hold a little steady. Again, we're just trying to call them in, get their attention. They're cruising all over the place with no real rhyme or reason. So we're just trying to get their attention to come over and maybe look at the dead stick.
Yeah, those big rapid motions with the spoon, I'm really swooping it up and letting it flutter down. He's covering all sorts of areas within the water column and shaking it, big swoops as well. But when that big fish does come in, we don't want to spook it from taking the dead stick, and that's probably what's going to happen is he's going to be going after the dead stick. So I wouldn't go too crazy on your jigging. In other smaller bodies of water, you know, with smaller size fish up here, we're really hunting after trophies, but these techniques can be used anywhere. The smaller lakes with the smaller trout, you might have to be a little bit more aggressive to get them to commit. And so in those cases, instead of pausing, you might want to keep whatever motions got them in. You got to test and learn. It's going to depend on different lakes, but you know, jigging activity and jigging tactics are highly dependent on test and learn strategies. There's really not a wrong way to do it, as long as you're trying new motions. So in terms of rods and reels, I really recommend a medium light when it comes to trout. You can go up to a medium, but typically you're not going to be catching the trout that we're catching today in that kind of 20-inch range. You're going to be catching them more in the 12 to 16-inch range. And you want to be able to feel everything that's going on. It's a lot more fun to fight them on a medium light. I like 28 inches just because I can use that in a shelter as well. But you definitely would be advantaged to go up a little bit higher, 30, 32 inches. 32 can get a little too long, and it's not very versatile when it comes to shelter, so that's why I like to stick with a 28, but I definitely recommend a medium light. We could get away out here with a medium and have a bit of an easier time, but it's a lot more fun to catch them on a medium light.
It is a lot more fun.
And you really, really, really need a fast action tip. It's not like trout in the summertime where you want that kind of moderate action because you're trying to get those spoons all over the place. You're in, you know, tighter creek beds. You're trying to get those, you know, really small lures and jigs really far away. It's not like that here because we need that tip to be so sensitive. We're not casting, right? So we don't need it to be moderate. We want it to be fast so that we can detect those bites, not on here, but really on the dead sticks, because a lot of the times, you know, you're not going to be using these jinglers if, you know, the rod's right next to you. It's behind me. I got the jingler.
Right there, far one.
Second one?
Second one, see it?
Yep. Missed him.
What is going on?
Dude, he just took that rod into the water.
Good
I just didn't get there in time.
That one was not a personal blunder. That one was bad luck and a big fish taking this pole all the way down into the water. I guess a personal blunder because I forgot my spikes at the hotel today. And so I am running around with not a lot of traction, which I don't recommend. Because I have fallen twice, and it's actually definitely cost us one or two fish. So you'd be surprised how the classic supplies that don't directly affect the fish, indirectly affect your catch rate. It's killing me. And my butt hurts.
Oh, sniper. You all right?
Oh, geez, off. Just came back at it.
Oh, I just dropped.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, I'm fine.
I'm not worried about you, I'm worried about the fish.
Oh, yeah. I was in front of you. Yeah. Oh.
Hey, next one.
There he is. Look at the size of that thing.
Yeah, watch the next one.
All right, let's see if he hits the next one.
Dude, I that up.
It's fine.
What happened?
We got caught with the jinglers. That was a big one too. What are you gonna do?
You know, try it. If it works, keep going with it. If it doesn't work, try something else. Try a little softer jig to it.
And my classic is to just kind of start low with this spoon and work its way up, bumping up about a foot, letting it drop down, because that lets it shoot up and then flutter down a foot, shoot up, flutter down a foot, shoot up, and it's reflecting light back all across in a big circle here, drawing things in when it gets to go back down. Then once I get it to the very top, then I like to flutter it all the way back down. And that's gonna shoot light all the way through the water column and call fish from different areas no matter where they're swimming. So when we do get a bite on one of the dead sticks, we're gonna hear a ring, and we're gonna get over there as quickly as possible, but we're not pulling that right away. We're gonna wait till the rod tip really does bend over, because these trout, they're gonna hit it, but they might not totally commit to it, and they've got pretty tough mouths. So you really want to get it in there before you set the hook, and then yeah, we're setting the hook as quickly as possible once that rod tip bends over. But you know, don't ruin your chances by setting the hook a little too early. You're gonna hear the rings, it's gonna bob a little bit, but you want a good solid bend on the tip before you pull it on up and set the hook.
Break the ice. All right, you take this one.
I'm all tangled up.
Just leave the bell.
Just leave it. Here it comes.
I think the bell's gonna ruin it. I can do it really gently.
There you go. Nice job.
It just looked like it was about to snap on that bell.
Here he comes.
There you go. There he is. There we go. Oh, that's a slippery bugger.
All right.
Aaron,
Nice.
beautiful fish.
Nice.
What a great fish to close out the day with.
Heck yeah.
What a fight.
Hey man, we did it. We got him.
Oh, that was beautiful. 3 of these today. Now we missed a couple due to injuries and personal problems, but look at that fish. I mean, come on.
So much fun.
Canyon Ferry, Montana, mountains around us. You can't get better ice fishing for rainbow trout than that.
All right, here he goes.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. I wanted to give you a quick rundown of the show. Here's the summary of all the key points that we covered. It's a great time to pause and either jot some stuff down or just print a screenshot out. If you could please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, we'd really appreciate it. Thanks.